What's the difference between group variation and within group variation? When we're talking about these two groups, we're looking at how statistically we analyze data. In this chart, we have 3 data samples. The variation within one of these groups is called within group variation. So again, this is within one single data set, and each of these data sets has within group variation. Now, how we compare the data between these different groups is called between group variation. So again, this is within group variation, but when you compare each of these data sets, it's between group variation. Let's look at this another way. Look at these two groups of data. Which group has more within group variation? Look at the numbers in this group and look at the numbers at this group. You can tell there's more variation within the numbers here than there are here. So again, there's just more variation. You can see like this one goes up to 18 and down to like 7. There's not much variation within this data. So there's more within group variation here compared with here. That again shows within group variation. Now looking within these groups, which group has more within group variation? So there's going to be more variation in group 3 because that bell curve is lower and more spread out. There's less variation in group 1 since that bell curve is thinner and higher up. Now let's take a look at between group variation. Which group has more between group variation? You can see our different data sets here and compare them here. And you can see there's much more variation between these data sets in this grouping compared with this grouping. There's much more overlap here compared with no overlap here. Let's look at this again. Which two groups is there the most between group variation? We have 3 groups here. Which two groups show the most between group variation? This group here and this group here are the furthest here from the average. So there is the most between group variation between these two. There's not a lot of between group variation between these two though, because on this line, they're very close to each other and there's going to be a lot of overlap. So again, within group variation is within one data set. Between group variation is between different data sets.